Imagine holding a coin in your hand that could change your life forever. Not just a coin, but a tiny, unassuming piece of copper, almost invisible among the billions of pennies minted over the years. Yet this small disc could be worth more than most people make in a lifetime. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most shocking, mind-bending treasures in American numismatics, the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. A coin so rare, so enigmatic, that its value can reach into the hundreds of thousands, even soaring past $800,000 in pristine condition. And the most terrifying, thrilling part? You might already have one sitting in your pocket change. Let's start at the beginning. The year is 1982, a year of transitions for the United States Mint. That year marked a dramatic shift in the composition of the penny. Gone was the familiar solid copper alloy. In its place, a new copper-plated zinc design emerged. It might seem like an ordinary change, but within that change, an anomaly appeared, hidden in plain sight. A coin with no mint mark. A coin that, at first glance, looks like any other penny, yet carries a secret that collectors have been hunting for decades. What makes the 1982 no mint mark Lincoln cent so extraordinary? It's all about rarity and error. These coins were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, yet they slipped through the cracks of quality control in ways that created hidden errors so subtle, so microscopic, that only trained eyes or a stroke of sheer luck could detect them. Tiny doubling on the date. Slight misalignments of Lincoln's profile. Imperfections in the lettering. Each of these anomalies increases the coin's value exponentially, transforming a common penny into a prize that can fetch six-figure sums at auction. Now, you might be thinking, a penny? Worth hundreds of thousands? That's impossible. But it's not. In fact, reported market sales for top condition examples have reached $844,000. Let that sink in. A coin that was handed out in change at the grocery store, perhaps spent on a pack of gum, could have been a hidden goldmine all along. This isn't just rare, it's life-changing rare. So, why are these coins so scarce? Here's where the story twists. In 1982, the mint produced both copper and zinc pennies, and the transition created massive confusion. Mint employees were working against the clock, the presses running continuously, errors slipping through unnoticed. And yet, the no-mint mark coins were particularly special. Unlike most pennies that proudly display a P or D to signify their origin, these coins carry no mark at all, a silent, unassuming signature of rarity. Some believe only a few hundred were ever produced, and fewer than 100 remain in near-perfect condition. Can you imagine holding one? Feeling the weight of history and possibility in your fingers? That's part of what makes collecting coins so addictive. It's not just the money, it's the story, the thrill of discovery. Every scratch, every blemish, every minute difference tells a tale of human error, industrial oversight, and the strange ways fortune chooses its favorites. But there's more. Experts have documented hidden errors on these coins that are invisible to the untrained eye. Micro-doubling on the date can multiply the coin's value tenfold. A slightly off-center strike or an irregular planchet can add tens of thousands more. Collectors talk about the wow factor when these details are revealed under a loupe, a magnifying glass, or in professional grading photographs. Imagine a coin you might have dismissed as ordinary, suddenly transformed into a museum-quality artifact worth nearly $1 million, and the suspense doesn't end there. The market for these coins is fiercely competitive. Auction houses report bidding wars that escalate in minutes, with collectors willing to pay astronomical sums for a perfect specimen. It's a high-stakes game where timing, knowledge, and luck converge. One moment, a coin sits unnoticed in a jar of change, the next, it becomes the centerpiece of a six-figure sale. This is the reality of rare coin collecting, where every ordinary object hides the potential for extraordinary wealth. Now, let's talk about the psychology of it. Why are people so obsessed with the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln cent? Part of it is scarcity. Part of it is the thrill of the hunt. But the real reason is hope. Hope that, in your attic, your drawer, or your pocket, there might be a coin that changes everything. A coin that makes you stop, look closer, and ask, could this be it? Could this small, overlooked penny be the key to a fortune that most people only dream about? It's a question that haunts collectors, driving them to dig through rolls of coins, to study minting patterns, to obsess over minute details invisible to everyone else. And here's the kicker: sometimes, ordinary people do find them. Stories circulate in collector circles about retirees, store clerks, even schoolchildren who stumbled upon a 1982 no-mint mark penny in everyday life. Some coins were purchased in rolls from banks, others pulled from old coin jars, and a few were found in the most unlikely places, hidden in furniture, forgotten in books, even tucked into vintage coin collections that had been passed down for generations. Each discovery sparks a frenzy, a rush of excitement, and the potential for unimaginable wealth, but caution is key. Not every 1982 penny is a treasure. Many are common zinc copper coins, worth mere cents. The hidden errors, the no-mint mark variations, the pristine conditions, these are the elements that create astronomical value. And that's where expertise comes in. Collectors study grading, die variations, and market trends obsessively. They learn to spot the signs that separate a coin worth 1 cent from one that could fetch $844,000. This is precision, strategy, and patience wrapped into one thrilling pursuit. Now, imagine the moment when you finally hold one of these rare coins. The thrill of recognition, the realization that what seems ordinary is actually extraordinary. The rush of possibilities, the visions of life-changing opportunities unfolding before you. That moment is why people dedicate their lives to coin collecting. It's the heartbeat of the hobby, the fusion of history, art, and wealth into something tangible you can hold in your hand. So here's the truth: millions of coins exist in the United States. Millions of Americans have jars of pennies, drawers full of change, and old coin collections tucked away in closets. Somewhere among them, the elusive 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln cent waits. It might be in your own possession. It might be buried in a bag you haven't touched in years. And if you find it, if you spot the hidden error, the unmarked rarity, the flaw that makes it one of a kind, you could become part of a story that collectors will tell for decades. You could hold in your hand a coin valued at more than most of us earn in a lifetime. In the end, the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is more than just a coin. It's a symbol. A symbol of patience, luck, and the astonishing possibilities that lie hidden in everyday life. It's a reminder that sometimes, the greatest treasures are invisible to the untrained eye, waiting for someone curious, daring, and persistent enough to uncover them. Could that someone be you? The thrill is real, the stakes are high, and the rewards, well, they're almost unimaginable. So the next time you reach for a penny, take a closer look. Examine the date, check for imperfections, scrutinize every detail. What you find could be nothing, or it could be everything. And that's the story of the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, a coin that whispers secrets of fortune, luck, and discovery. A coin that has transformed ordinary Americans into collectors, dreamers, and millionaires. A coin that reminds us that even in the most ordinary corners of life, extraordinary treasures are waiting to be found. Imagine reaching into your pocket for spare change and pulling out a coin worth more than a luxury home. It sounds impossible, yet for a small group of collectors, that exact moment has already happened, because hiding in ordinary pocket change, mixed in with pennies people barely glance at, is a mysterious coin that has shocked the coin collecting world for decades. The 1981 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. Copper colored. Abraham Lincoln's profile staring calmly into the distance. The date reads 1981. Nothing special, but what if I told you that some versions of this seemingly common penny have triggered bidding wars among collectors, reaching reported market values as high as $844,000 in pristine condition? Yes. Nearly $1 million for a single penny, and the most incredible part, many people who own one have no idea what they're holding. So the real question is simple: could one of these coins be hiding in your change right now? Let's rewind for a moment to understand why this coin has captured the imagination of collectors across America. In 1981, the United States Mint was going through a transitional period. Rising copper prices were pushing production costs higher. Behind the scenes, officials were already experimenting with ways to reduce metal content and streamline minting processes, but during times of transition, mistakes happen, and sometimes those mistakes create legends. Millions of Lincoln cents were struck that year at 3 major mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most collectors know the rule: Denver coins carry a D mint mark. San Francisco coins carry an S. Philadelphia, however, often produced coins without a mint mark at all. So why would a 1981 penny without a mint mark raise eyebrows? Because the story isn't just about the missing letter. It's about what happened during the minting process, subtle differences, hidden variations, and rare minting anomalies that most people would never notice. unless they knew exactly what to look for. Take a closer look at the lettering. On certain 1981 no-mint mark cents, collectors have discovered unusual die variations, tiny but powerful differences in the way the design was stamped onto the metal. Some examples show what experts call doubled dies, where the design was impressed twice at slightly different angles. The result, letters that appear slightly doubled, shadows around the date, and sometimes dramatic duplication in the words Liberty or In God We Trust. To an untrained eye, it might look like a minor blur. To a serious collector, it's like discovering a hidden treasure map, and that's only the beginning. Another twist in the 1981 penny story involves the metal composition. Most people don't realize that 1981 was one of the final years before the US Mint switched Lincoln cents from mostly copper to zinc in 1982. That means genuine 1981 cents are among the last of the traditional copper pennies ever made. Why does that matter? Because collectors love end of era coins. They represent the closing chapter of a long-running design and metal composition that lasted for generations, but occasionally, something even stranger appears. A coin struck with imperfect planchets. A cent with misaligned dies. Or a penny showing unusual strike pressure that leaves microscopic details sharper than normal. These rare production quirks can turn an everyday cent into a numismatic celebrity. And when one of these exceptional coins is graded at the very top levels by professional grading services, that's when the numbers become jaw-dropping. In ultra-high grades like MS-67 or above, some collectors have reportedly paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to secure the finest examples known. One particularly pristine specimen has circulated in collector conversations with a reported value approaching $844,000. Think about that for a moment. $844,000 for a coin that originally cost 1 cent. That's a return so unbelievable it almost feels like fiction, but the world of rare coins thrives on these stories, moments when the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary. And the truth is, many valuable coins were discovered by accident. A man searching through a jar of old change. A woman sorting coins inherited from a parent. A retiree rolling pennies for the bank. Then suddenly, something looks different. The lettering seems slightly doubled. The surface appears unusually sharp. Or the coin simply looks too perfect for its age. That tiny spark of curiosity has launched some of the greatest coin discoveries in history, because here's the reality most people overlook: rare coins rarely arrive labeled as rare. They hide quietly among millions of ordinary pieces, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. Which brings us back to the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. Millions were produced, but only a tiny fraction possess the characteristics that make collectors' hearts race: the right die variety, the right condition, the right microscopic details. And that leads to the question that has fueled countless late-night coin searches across America: what should you look for? Well, first, check the date. Second, look directly beneath the date. If there is no mint mark, you may be looking at a Philadelphia strike. That's your starting point. Next, examine the lettering carefully. Do the letters in Liberty appear slightly doubled? Does the phrase "I in God We Trust" show faint shadowing? Is the date itself thicker or slightly duplicated? If so, you could be staring at a double die variety. But condition is everything. Collectors pay extraordinary premiums for coins that appear nearly untouched by time: bright surfaces, sharp edges, minimal scratches. A coin that somehow survived more than 4 decades without being worn down by circulation. Those are the coins that can explode in value. And here's where the story takes another fascinating turn. Many high-grade coins didn't come from circulation at all. They came from coin rolls and mint sets that were stored away and forgotten for years: attics, desk drawers, safety deposit boxes. Sometimes these untouched coins reappear decades later, looking almost exactly as they did the day they were minted. That's when grading companies step in. Professional coin grading service, Numismatic Guarantee Company. These experts analyze the coin under magnification, authenticate the variety, and assign an official grade. A single point difference on that grading scale can mean thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the difference between a $5 coin and a 6-figure coin may come down to microscopic details invisible without magnification. Think about the implications of that. Somewhere right now, across the United States, jars of pennies sit quietly on kitchen counters, coffee cans full of loose change collect dust in closets, old piggy banks remain unopened for decades. Inside those containers could be coins people spend every day without a second thought, and hidden among them could be a 1981 Lincoln cent that collectors would fight to own. A penny capable of turning pocket change into a life-changing discovery. A coin that proves something remarkable about treasure hunting in the modern world. You don't need a metal detector, you don't need a treasure map. Sometimes the treasure is already in your house, quietly waiting. So the next time someone tells you a penny isn't worth picking up, remember the story. Remember the collectors who paid staggering sums for the right coin. Remember the Reports of a pristine 1981 no-mint mark cent reaching $844,000 in elite condition, and most importantly, remember that the next incredible discovery might not come from a museum, or an auction house, or a professional dealer. It might come from a simple handful of change.so tonight. Before you ignore the jar of pennies on the shelf, take a closer look, check the dates. Search for the missing mint mark, study the lettering, because hidden among those tiny copper discs could be a coin that transforms an ordinary evening into the moment you realize something extraordinary, that a single penny could be worth a fortune. Magnifying glass tilted left money bag. But what if that ordinary looking coin in your pocket was hiding a secret? What if one penny could be worth thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even more? Tonight's story begins with a coin many Americans have handled countless times, the 1980 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. At first glance, it seems completely ordinary. In fact, millions of them were made. But buried among those everyday coins are rare variations, hidden errors, and condition rarities that can turn a humble penny into a collector's prize. And here's the twist that makes coin hunters pay attention. Some reported listings and high-grade market claims have circulated suggesting values reaching hundreds of thousands of dollars, with stories referencing figures as high as $844,000 for exceptional coins in elite condition categories. Is it hype? Is it misunderstanding? Or is there a real opportunity hiding in plain sight? To answer that, we have to start where every great coin mystery begins, with the mint. In 1980, the United States Mint struck Lincoln cents at 3 facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Denver coins carry a D mint mark. San Francisco coins, mostly proofs, carry an S. But Philadelphia, for most of the 20th century, Philadelphia coins were struck without any mint mark at all. So when you see a 1980 penny without a mint mark, it simply means it came from the Philadelphia Mint. And here's where the story gets interesting. Philadelphia produced over 7 billion Lincoln cents in 1980.7 billion. That's enough pennies to circle the earth multiple times if laid edge to edge, which means the vast majority of 1980 no mint mark pennies are only worth 1 cent, but not all of them, because hidden within massive coin productions are mistakes, tiny mechanical slips, misaligned dies, metal anomalies, and sometimes, those mistakes create coins collectors will chase for decades. Let's talk about the first category that gets experts excited: mint errors. Every coin starts its life as a blank metal disc called a planchet. That planchet is fed into a press where engraved dies strike the design onto the metal with enormous pressure, but sometimes something goes wrong. The die might shift, the metal might flow unevenly, or the strike might happen slightly off-center, and when that happens, the result can be a mint error coin. With the 1980 Lincoln cent, several types of errors have been documented over the years. Off-center strikes are among the most visually dramatic. These occur when the coin blank is not perfectly aligned during the strike, leaving part of the design missing while a blank crescent of metal appears on the edge. The more off-center the coin is, while still showing the date, the more valuable it can become. And then there are broad strikes, where the coin expands beyond its normal rim because the retaining collar failed during the strike. The result is a penny that looks stretched and oddly shaped. Another fascinating variety is the clipped planchet error, where part of the coin appears bitten off. This happens when the metal strip used to punch out coin blanks overlaps slightly, leaving one coin with a curved missing section, and collectors love these oddities. Depending on severity and condition, some 1980 error cents have sold for dozens, hundreds, even thousands of dollars, all from a coin that once bought a piece of candy. But the real suspense in the coin world often comes from something much subtler. Something you might miss unless you look very closely. Die varieties. When a die used to strike coins becomes worn, cracked, or improperly prepared, it can leave tiny repeating differences on every coin it produces. These are called varieties, and some become legendary among collectors. With the 1980 Lincoln cent, specialists watch for signs of doubling, not the dramatic doubling you might see with your naked eye, but subtle forms known as doubled dies. These occur during the die creation process itself, when the design is impressed into the die more than once but slightly misaligned. The result: letters that appear thickened in numbers with shadow-like outlines, design elements that seem to shift under magnification. To the average person, it looks normal. To a trained eye, it's a treasure. Certain double die varieties from different years have sold for thousands of dollars, and collectors constantly search through rolls of coins hoping to discover an overlooked example. But here's another factor that can make a simple 1980 penny surprisingly valuable: condition. This might be the most overlooked secret in coin collecting. A coin that circulated through decades of pocket change may be worn, scratched, and dull, but a coin that somehow escaped circulation, perhaps stored in a bankroll, a mint set, or a forgotten drawer, can remain in mint state condition. In the grading world, Coins are ranked on a scale from 1 to 70. A typical circulated penny might grade around 20 or 30. But a pristine coin, with blazing red luster and flawless surfaces, might grade MS 67, MS 68, or even higher, and that's where prices can explode, because while billions of 1980 pennies were made, almost none survived in perfect condition. High-grade coins become a competition among elite collectors. The difference between MS 65 and MS 67 might look tiny, but in auction terms, it can mean the difference between $20 and thousands. This is why collectors carefully search through old rolls and bank boxes. They aren't just looking for errors, they're looking for the best preserved examples in existence, and sometimes, the results are astonishing. There have been cases where seemingly common coins shocked the market simply because they were the finest known example certified by professional grading services. That's the moment when an everyday coin transforms into a trophy, and when trophies appear at major auctions, prices can climb fast. Stories circulate through collector communities of coins with ordinary origins selling for extraordinary amounts, fueling headlines and speculation about coins potentially reaching six-figure territory in perfect condition. Whether every viral claim holds up under scrutiny is another matter, but one thing is absolutely true: hidden gems are still out there right now. In circulation. Think about it. How many pennies have passed through your hands over the years? Hundreds, thousands. How many did you actually examine? Probably none. Most people glance at the date, if that, but coin hunters see the world differently. They check for mint marks, they scan for doubling, they tilt coins under light looking for unusual reflections, because every once in a while, someone finds something extraordinary. A rare die variety in a roll from the bank. A dramatic error pulled from pocket change. Or a near-perfect coin that somehow survived 4 decades without a scratch. And that discovery moment? It's electric. It's the reason millions of people quietly search through their coins at kitchen tables across America, because the next valuable find might not be buried treasure. It might not come from a pirate chest or an archaeological dig. It might come from a coffee jar. Or the cup holder in your car. Or the change sitting in your wallet right now. The 1980 Lincoln cent without a mint mark reminds us of something powerful. Rarity doesn't always announce itself, as sometimes it hides in the most ordinary places. Billions were made, but only a tiny fraction carry the quirks, errors, and pristine preservation that collectors crave, which raises one final question: how many of those coins are still out there, unnoticed, waiting in circulation, waiting in jars, waiting for someone curious enough to look closely? Maybe the next person to discover one will be a professional numismatist. Or maybe it will be someone watching this video who decides to check their change tonight, because sometimes the difference between 1 cent and a small fortune is simply knowing what to look for. Magnifying glass tilted left money bag. After all, pennies are the coins we ignore. They get tossed into jars, lost in couch cushions, and forgotten in glove compartments. Most people wouldn't bend down to pick one up off the sidewalk, but what if one of those tiny copper coins, sitting quietly in your pocket right now, could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even more, because hidden among the billions of ordinary coins circulating in America is a mysterious piece of pocket change that collectors have chased for decades. The 1979 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks completely normal. Abraham Lincoln facing right. The familiar date, 1979. The same design Americans have carried since 1909. But something subtle, something almost invisible, can transform this ordinary penny into one of the most fascinating modern coins in circulation, and in the rarest, most pristine condition. Specimens tied to this coin's unusual characteristics have been reported in elite collector markets for staggering sums approaching $844,000 for a single cent. So how could something so small become so valuable? The answer lies in a quiet mystery inside the U.S. Mint, and the hidden errors that collectors obsess over. Let's rewind to 1979. America was entering a new decade. Inflation was rising. Gas lines had defined the late 70s, and the U.S. Mint was working overtime producing coins for a growing economy. Billions of Lincoln cents poured out of mint facilities that year. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. Normally, coins from Denver carry a tiny D. San Francisco coins carry an S. But Philadelphia, for most of history, Philadelphia coins had no mint mark at all, which means the vast majority of 1979 pennies naturally show no mint mark. So why would collectors care? Here's where the story gets interesting, because among the billions of ordinary coins, a handful show something strange: subtle doubling in the lettering, distorted dates, odd spacing in the word liberty, and sometimes microscopic anomalies in Lincoln's profile that weren't supposed to exist. These are what collectors call hidden varieties. and they turn ordinary coins into legendary finds. But there's another twist: most people never notice these differences. They spend the coins without a second thought, and that means valuable pieces can circulate for decades unnoticed. Imagine that: a rare coin traveling through thousands of hands, slipping through cash registers, vending machines, and coin jars, waiting for someone sharp enough to recognize it, and sometimes someone does. Take the story collectors still talk about today. A routine coin roll searcher, just an ordinary hobbyist checking pennies from the bank, spotted something unusual on a 1979 cent. At first it seemed minor. The date looked thicker, almost like it had been stamped twice. Under magnification, the truth appeared. A double die variety point, one of the most sought after types of minting errors. When coins are struck, the design is transferred from a master die onto blank metal discs, but occasionally, the die itself receives the design more than once, slightly misaligned. That mistake then gets stamped onto every coin produced with that die. At the result, letters and numbers that appear doubled, almost like a shadow image. To the average person, it looks like a minor flaw. To collectors, it's treasure, because doubled dies are among the most famous and valuable coin errors in American history. Just think about the legendary 1955 doubled die penny, now worth tens of thousands of dollars. Or the famous 1969's doubled die, which has sold for more than $100,000. In the 1979 Lincoln cent, it quietly joined that tradition with several intriguing varieties that continue to surface decades later. But that's only the beginning, because condition changes everything. Collectors grade coins on a precise scale from 1 to 70. Most pennies in circulation fall somewhere between 5 and 30. They're scratched, worn, discolored, but occasionally, a coin survives in extraordinary condition. Where sharp edges, blazing original luster. These are called mint state coins, and the higher the grade, the rarer the coin becomes. Now imagine finding a 1979 Lincoln cent with a rare variety, preserved in near perfect condition. Suddenly that penny isn't pocket change anymore. It becomes a prize. A centerpiece for elite collectors who compete fiercely for the best examples, and in the high-end numismatic market, the finest specimens have been associated with eye-popping price tags approaching $844,000 when tied to exceptional rarity, condition, and demand. That's not just valuable. That's life-changing. But here's the question most people never ask: how many of these coins are still out there? Think about it: billions were minted, most have circulated freely for decades. Many sit forgotten in jars and drawers across the country, and because the differences are so subtle, people spend them without realizing what they had, which means some of the rarest examples could still be hiding in plain sight right now, maybe in a coffee can full of spare change, maybe in a roll of pennies from the bank, maybe even in the coin sitting on your nightstand. And the clues are small. Look closely at the date. Does it appear doubled? Check the lettering in Liberty. Are the edges sharp and distinct, or do you see extra lines? Examine Lincoln's profile. Any strange distortions, even tiny irregularities, can signal something special. Collectors often use magnification, sometimes just a simple jeweler's loupe, to inspect coins, because the difference between a 1-cent coin and a 6-figure collectible can be smaller than a grain of sand. But here's the most fascinating part of this entire story: rare coin discoveries still happen, not in museums, not in vaults, but in everyday places. A coin roll hunter in Ohio once discovered a valuable double die cent in a bankroll. A retiree in Arizona found a rare error penny in a jar he'd kept for 20 years. A teenager sorting through lunch money spotted a valuable variety that later sold for thousands. These stories sound unbelievable until they happen again and again, because the truth is simple: coins are one of the few treasures still hiding in plain sight. No treasure map required. No metal detector, just curiosity, patience, and a careful eye. And that brings us back to the 1979 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. To most people, it's nothing, just another penny, but to collectors who know what to look for, it's a mystery waiting to be solved. A puzzle hiding inside pocket change. A reminder that sometimes the most valuable discoveries aren't buried underground, they're already in your house. So the next time you get change at the store, don't ignore the pennies, look at the date, check for a mint mark, examine the details, because somewhere among those ordinary coins, one tiny copper cent could change everything, and the next incredible discovery, it might be sitting in your pocket right now.